The haunted mansion. The family had heard the rumors about the mansion they were moving into. Stories of ghostly apparitions and strange sounds that echoed through the halls had been circulating for years. But they had always been a family of skeptics, dismissing the supernatural as nothing more than overactive imaginations and tall tales. The day they moved in, everything seemed normal. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and the mansion looked magnificent. It was spacious, with high ceilings, ornate furnishings, and a grand staircase leading up to the second floor. The family was excited to start their new life in this beautiful home. But as the sun began to set, strange things started happening. The lights flickered, doors creaked open and shut, and a cold draft seemed to follow them wherever they went. They tried to dismiss it as old house quirks, but as the night wore on, the activity intensified. The family huddled together in the living room, trying to ignore the strange sounds that echoed through the house. That's when they saw it. The family screamed and fled the room, but the entity seemed to follow them. Over the next few days, the family experienced increasingly terrifying occurrences. Furniture moved on its own, doors slammed shut, and strange whispers could be heard in the dead of night. They tried to leave the house, but every time they opened the door, something seemed to hold it shut. They were trapped in the haunted mansion. One day, the family decided to investigate the history of the mansion. They discovered that it had been built on a Native American burial ground and that the land had been cursed. The family realized that they needed to break the curse if they ever wanted to leave the mansion. They contacted a paranormal expert who informed them that the only way to break the curse was to perform a ritual that involved lighting sage and reciting a chant. The family followed the instructions, and as they did, the ghostly apparitions began to disappear. The mansion was silent once again. The family was finally able to leave the haunted mansion, but the experience left them scarred for life. They never forgot the terror they had experienced in that cursed house, and they warned others to never make the same mistake they had. The haunted mansion stood empty once again, its dark secrets buried within its walls. Maggie had always been fascinated by the paranormal, and her obsession with finding proof of other dimensions had led her to the discovery of a portal. It was hidden deep in the woods behind her house, and she had stumbled upon it by accident while on a hike. The portal was a swirling vortex of energy, and it called to her, drawing her closer with each passing moment. As she approached, the energy grew more intense, and she felt a pull at her core, as though something was trying to drag her into the vortex. Maggie hesitated for a moment, her fear of the unknown holding her back, but her curiosity was too strong, and she stepped into the portal. The other side was nothing like she had ever seen before. The sky was a deep shade of purple, and the landscape was twisted and distorted with strange shapes and colors that defied explanation. Maggie's heart raced with excitement as she explored this new world, but her joy soon turned to terror. She realized that she was not alone. Strange creatures, unlike anything she had ever seen before, lurked in the shadows, watching her with glowing eyes. They were humanoid in shape, but their skin was black as coal, and their eyes burned with an otherworldly fire. Maggie tried to run, but the creatures were too fast. They chased her through the twisted landscape, their guttural growls echoing through the air. She could hear their claws scraping against the ground as they closed in on her. Just when it seemed like all was lost, Maggie felt a sudden jolt. She was pulled back through the portal and back into her own world. She fell to the ground, gasping for breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Maggie never went back to the portal, but she knew that the creatures were still out there, waiting for their next victim. She warned others to stay away from the portal, but few believed her. Years later, a group of teenagers stumbled upon the portal and decided to explore. They were never seen again. Maggie knew that they had been dragged into the other dimension, where the creatures would torment them for eternity. She never forgot the terror she had experienced, and she vowed to keep others from making the same mistake. The portal to the other dimension remained hidden in the woods, waiting for its next victim to stumble upon it. the monster within. I always felt like there was something dark and dangerous lurking inside of me. I tried to ignore it, to suppress it, but it was always there, waiting to be unleashed. And one day, it finally broke free. It started small, with little outbursts of anger and aggression. But as time went on, it grew stronger, more violent. I found myself losing control, doing things that I couldn't explain or justify. It wasn't until the night of the full moon that I finally understood what was happening to me. I transformed into a monster, a creature of pure rage and violence. I ran through the streets, destroying everything in my path, attacking anyone who crossed my path. The next morning, I woke up in a daze, surrounded by destruction and chaos. I knew I had to do something before I hurt someone, before I hurt myself. I sought out the help of a scientist who specialized in the supernatural, hoping he could explain what was happening to me and find a way to stop it. He performed a series of tests and experiments, and the results were shocking. It turned out that I had a dormant gene that had been passed down through generations of my family, a gene that was activated by the full moon and transformed me into a monster. The scientist developed a serum that could suppress the gene, but it came at a cost. The serum would also suppress my emotions and personality, turning me into a shell of my former self. I was faced with a difficult decision: continue to live with the monster inside of me and risk hurting others, or take the serum and lose a part of myself. In the end, I chose the serum. I couldn't bear the thought of hurting anyone else, and while it was a difficult adjustment, I slowly learned to live with the suppressed emotions and the new version of myself. But sometimes, late at night, I can still feel the monster stirring inside of me, waiting to break free, and I wonder if I made the right choice, if I'll ever be truly free from the monster within.